Hey class, how's it going? So now that we're done writing our app, we can actually deploy it. So there are a couple of options that we can take when it comes to deploying a Next.js app with a Node.js backend. So the first one is actually the one recommended by Vercel themselves is indeed Vercel deployment, which obviously they're gonna, recommend their own solution, but jokes aside, it's actually a really good deployment solution. The only thing that I had with it is that, of course, you only deploy your front end here, your client, because this will not host your DB, so you still have to host your server somewhere else, which obviously you knew this. But the only issue that I've had with it, even though it's a great platform and it has a lot of other advantages, of course I would use it in production, but for this specific use case to demonstrate to you in this video, I've had trouble making it work with the backend that I deployed, because the backend I deployed did not have HTTPS, and one of the advantages that this has, it does have HTTPS, but you can't disable it, so you can't test it with your backend unless you actually get a domain name and you connect your backend to that domain name and get an SSL certificate for that and then get them to work together. So for this tutorial, I'm actually going to use DigitalOcean and deploy both the client and the server on there. I figured we'd use DigitalOcean since last time we used AWS, so that's covered. Now we go with DigitalOcean, and it's kind of like more user-friendly than AWS, to be honest. I haven't done anything, I just registered to this account, and we can get going with this. So there are two main things that we need to do to get our app to be deployed and work successfully. Number one, which is, both are important. Number one is really important as well, which is to like this video right now. And of course, if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell button. And number two is we need to actually prepare the code before we deploy it. All right, so let's go ahead and prepare the code. So to prepare our code, we need to do a couple of things. Number one is, let's go to, actually, why am I saying number one? It's just an unordered list. It doesn't matter what order you do them at. So we need to set our config here so that it can take environment variables from our environment and not just having them hard-coded here, because obviously you don't want this to be pushed to your Git repo, even though it is like this, but that's a bad practice technically. So let's actually get these credentials from the env file. So I've already gone ahead and put the credentials here in the .env file so we can just use them. I've included the DB dialect in case you want to use MySQL or something on the production, so it's sitting here on this .env and you can edit it. So now, actually, let's just rename this ormconfig.json to just ormconfig.js, and it will actually work and you don't need to edit anything. TypeORM will detect this and make it work. So here we're going to say module.exports and export this, since now this is not a JSON. And for the type now we're going to say process.env and then we put that DB dialect. And I'm actually going to copy this and paste it here for the host. So change this with host. And here for the port, so db_port, and here for the username, so username, and the last one is, actually not the last one, this is the password, and now the last one is the database name. So here we'll say database. So now to test our server, we're going to build the TS files that are in the source into JavaScript files, because obviously on the server we're not going to run TypeScript files, because that's only for production. I mean, only for development. So the tsconfig file is set up that the output directory is going to be to /build. So everything that we build, the JavaScript files are going to be inside of that folder. So we need to tell ormconfig to actually look there once we're in production. So what I'm going to do is, here at the top, I'm going to say const. I'm going to create this variable called root_dir for root directory. And I'm going to check, so if the process.env.node_env equals development, we're going to do a ternary. So if that's the case, we're going to do source, otherwise we're going to do build. So if we're in in production, we're going to look in the build directory. So I'm going to go here, so all in next to all of these paths, let's click here and then hold alt and click here and here and here and here and here as well. Paste that root directory and add a plus, and then remove this source so that it dynamically knows which directory to look at. And I'm actually going to copy this from here and paste it instead of this star.ts, and so we add the .js so that it looks for JS files as well when we're in production. And for the logging, you can actually add this expression, this check inside of here, so that if you want to disable logging in production, this will work. So let's test this out. So save this, and let's now build our server code. So let's say npx TSC. And now let's have the TypeScript compiler bundle all of the JavaScript or transpile it. Okay, so we get 1,000 errors, and yeah, all of these are coming actually from the client, so I forgot to ignore that. So let's go to the tsconfig, and outside of this compiler options, here we're going to add actually we can add an include and tell it to look into source/double/star so that everything inside of source will be bundled or transpiled. I keep saying bundled. And here we'll say exclude, and we can node modules I think is excluded by default, but let's just be explicit. So here we'll put client as well so that it ignores the client directory, because that will be transpiled separately. So now save that and run again npx tsc. And now if we cd into it, so say cd into build, and now we can run the server. So we'll say node server.js, because all of those files will be in JavaScript files. It's the exact same files. So here we'll run that. Okay, so here it says localhost :undefined. Okay, I know why, because it can't access the .env. We need to run that from the root, because it always looks for the .env file in the same directory, which it's not, it's in the root. So here in the root, we're going to say node build/server.js, and that should work. Okay, we get this error. Oh yeah, okay, I know why, because we still actually are in development, and because if you look at .env, the node env is in development here, and it's looking for the TS files. So we can just say here node env equals production, just to test it. So production, and we'll say node. Actually, we can change the start script in the package.json, so we can use it on the server. So here for the start script, we can just say node, and we'll say build/server.js. Save that. Now we can say node env equals production npm start, and that should work. Yes, it works. Cool. Let's actually test it. So we can say curl. Do we have a test endpoint? Yeah, we have a test endpoint, but actually it's just a slash. Let's change this to /API, because you know, our server is just an API basically. What's bundled is still just a slash, so let's test that. We'll say curl localhost 5000 slash, or just slash actually. All right, so we get hello world, and we say /API/posts. We indeed actually get all the posts, which means it's connecting to the database just fine. Cool, let's test if the CEDA is working, and also if the CLI works with JavaScript. So I'm actually going to run it from within the build directory. So cd into build, and we can say npx TypeORM. Actually not npx, I think we have a script for it. Yes, the seed. Or actually we could still run the CEDA with TypeScript on the server. That's not important, so let's not worry about it. So that's the server code ready. Let's now prepare the client. So the cd back and cd into client. And if we go into the client directory in the package.json, you see there's a build script already ready for us. But let me check. So let's go to the app.tsx, so pages, app.tsx. All right, so we're using the base URL. That's fine. That's in the environment variables. It's cool. It's here. And also one other thing for next image, actually not here, in the, where is it? Yeah, next.config.js. So here where we put the domain, this is okay, but our own domain, this cannot be hard-coded, because this might be different in production. So we need to pull this from the environment. So here we'll say process.env. So this will be our own domain. So let's call this something like app_domain. So we don't need to use next public here, because this we're in server time. So here we can say app_domain. Of course, here in production is still localhost. All right, save that. And everything is fine, I think. Yeah, we don't need to change anything. So here we can build it. So in the client directory, say npm run build, run that. So once everything is built, we will be in this .next folder, and we can just serve it using this start script, this next start script. So, okay, cool. Everything is bundled. So now let's cd back and let's run everything with JavaScript. Here in the server, we'll say npm start, and I'm going to open another window, terminal, and we'll go inside the client and we'll say npm start here as well. Cool. You see it instantly starts because everything is built already, and let's click on it, make sure everything works. Cool, so everything works the same. Check the console for errors. This error is okay, it's just checking for our auth token. So let me log in. So we'll say John 1 through 6, hit enter. There we go, I logged in, everything works the same. And let me try to Yeah, everything is fine. Let me upvote something. Okay, we get unauthorized for voting, and that's because, yeah, okay, cool. So the cookie did not persist. Good thing I tested here. So I might have to do, let me check. Let's go to middleware. Actually, not middleware, that's already in the thing, in the routes. So in the routes auth, yeah, here where we set the cookie, we're making it a secure cookie when we're in production, which we are right now. But the problem with that, we don't have an SSL certificate, we don't have HTTPS, so this cookie will not actually be set. So I'm going to comment this line. You can comment it back in when you have your server set up with SSL and just kind of push the code and everything will work the same. You don't have to change anything. But for now, I'll just comment it out. And I think the other cookie as well when you log out. Yeah, here I'm going to comment this out and save. And I'll just, actually in the other terminal, not here, the other one. Yeah, here I'm just going to break out of it and build the server code again. So npx_tsc and say npm start again. I forgot to change the node env, so node env equals production, run that. And you don't have to do this obviously on the server. The .env here will have an node env that says production. So let's go back and, okay, there's no cookies, so I'm just gonna log in again. John 1 through 6. Cool, now we get that cookie. And if I upvote something here, cool, it upvotes and everything works. All right, so our code is now ready. So we can actually start to deploy it. So let's break out of this and let me close this. I'm actually going to create another file here called .env.example. And this is a good practice, is to make it easy for you to set up your server. So copy everything from the regular .env and paste it here and remove everything. Remove this and this, obviously all the credentials. So when you get on your server, you'll just copy this and then write everything, of course, without having to set up all of this. And if you give your code to someone else, they'll kind of have an idea how to set it up. So we can do the same inside the client. So here in the client, we have this env.local. We can copy that and inside the client and create a .env.example and paste this in and remove everything and save. So these are tracked by Git, unlike the .env and .env.local. Speaking of Git, let's open our terminal and git add everything and git commit code prepared for deployment. All right, now let's, actually I'm gonna merge with master. So because I wanna deploy that branch, so let's do git checkout master and let's do git merge. What was that? Class 24. Lovely, let's now push, so git push origin master. Cool, so we're done here. I can actually close VS Code, which is something that we don't do a lot. So let's go now to, so we need to deploy this. So now let's go to DigitalOcean. Let me actually close these pages. Let's make something, and I'm actually gonna skip this because the other page that I usually use is better. So here, let's get going with the droplet, which is basically a server. Here, I'm going to select Ubuntu, that's fine. The basic plan, that's okay. You can always change this if your load increases. I'm going to decrease this to the smallest one because we don't need that much computing power. So we don't need block storage. And here, select your region, the one closest to you. To me, the one closest to me is London. So I'm going to select London. And here, VPC network, don't worry about that. Here for authentication on how to SSH into this, I'm gonna actually put SSH key and give it my SSH key. So select that and go new SSH key. And I'm gonna open a terminal. So in your root, you should find a folder called .ssh. And here you're gonna find your SSH keys, and your default one is usually this id.rsa. So we need to give it the public key. So here I'm gonna say cat id_rsa.public. So copy all of this. And let's go back. So here I'm going to paste that. I'm just going to call it desktop, add SSH key. All right, everything is fine. Host name, that's okay. Tags, we don't need any of that. All right, so let's create this droplet. While it finishes creating, I'm actually going to do this survey. Which programming language do you use the most? JavaScript. Submit. Oh, that's it? One question? That's nice. Okay, I'm going to wait for it to build. All right, so it's done. If you click on it, it gives you some info about it. And there's this IPv4. This is the public IP of the server. So let's copy this. I'm going to open a terminal, make this full screen, actually make the text a bit smaller. And here we can SSH into it. So say SSH, SSH, and there's a default user root. So do root at and paste that IP and hit enter. And I'm going to say yes. All right, so we're inside of our server. So first thing we need to do is let's install Node.js. So I'm going to go back to Chrome and I'm going to search for Node.js node source. And here in this GitHub link, let's scroll down. So we are on right here. So I'm going to get 15. So using Ubuntu, that's fine. Let's get these two commands. So this curl command, paste that there, run that. And this second command to actually install it, copy that and wait for this to install. All right, now this is downloaded. Now we can actually install it. So paste that command and run it. All right, that's done. If we actually run node -v, we're going to see that we have node 15. And of course we have npm because it comes with it. So that's cool. Now we can run our server. And to run our server, we need to actually pull the code from GitHub. Now I know this Git repo is public, but we're going to work under the assumption that our Git repo is private because of course your code will be private. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually go to the settings of our code and add something called a deploy key, which is basically just an SSH key that allows whatever machine that's holding it to interact with the GitHub repo. Deploy key is usually just a read access because obviously you don't need to write your code from the server. So I'm going to generate a key. So let's go on Google and say generate SSH key. Run that. I mean, not run that, search that. There's this link by GitHub, which is pretty cool. So go there and basically just copy this. And let's go, obviously in our server, not on our local machine. Run that, paste that. Or did I not copy it? Okay, let me copy it again. Paste it. And here, change it to your email. It doesn't have to actually be your email. We can just say whatever. We just even say John. I'm going to say John. Or at email.com. Run it, and I'm just gonna keep the default name, no passphrase, so keep hitting enter. Cool. So is it actually, yeah, it's in the .ssh. So if you go cd into .ssh, it's actually here. So we can get the public one. So cat id, well, that's pretty long. So underscore ed, what is it? 25519.pub. Hit that. Okay, so just copy this. It's probably a command to copy. I'm forgetting. So now let's go to our Git repo, actually not here, here. Let's add a deploy key, paste that key there, and the title, I'm just going to call it droplet add key. Let me type my password. Cool, so now the key is added, we can actually pull the code. So let's go here, let's go to this code, copy this get link, and let's cd back into the root, and let's do get clone, and paste that. I'm going to clone it into a folder called Reddit. Usually put your domain name. So here I'm going to say reddit like that.com. Obviously we don't own that domain, but whatever. So let's continue. All right, we have our code here. So we can cd into it, cd into Reddit. And of course we need to install all of our dependencies. So run npm install. And obviously before we do anything, we need to set up a database. So let's go on Google and type download Postgres Ubuntu. Oops, can't type Ubuntu. Yeah, go to this first link from postgres.org. It gives you these easy commands to do. So here we're gonna just run all of these. All right, so the dependencies are done installing. So now let's paste those Postgres commands. Why did that run? That was so fast. Okay, that's just creating the thing, the config. All right, so let's run the second one. So copy that and run this, and copy this third one. Run it. I'm not going to bother explaining this because this is just something that you do once in a while. So sometimes you can just copy and paste some commands. You don't have to understand exactly everything because that's not the most efficient thing to do. All right, that's done. So actually Postgres creates a Postgres user for us. We can switch into it. So we can say sudo -i-u Postgres. And now we can actually just open PSQL, and there we go. We're inside of Postgres. Let's create our database. So I'm going to say create database. We'll call it Reddit. Put a colon. All right, exit. Actually, not exit. \q. Actually, sorry, I forgot to do one thing. Let's go back. And because Postgres by default, the user does not have a password. So let's give it a password. So we'll say alter user Postgres with password. And I'm just going to give it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that. And you don't have to worry about how secure this password is because Postgres on this server is not accessible because this port is not opened publicly by default. unless you specify it to be open. So only our server from inside of our server is able to connect to this database. All right, we're done here. We can do \q and we can say exit to go back to our root user. And now I believe we can migrate. So let's say npm run TypeORM migration :run, hit enter. Okay, we get a problem. Oh yeah, because I thought it's gonna be something that has to do with the credentials, but it says driver. It might still have to do with the credentials. Oh yeah, because yeah, of course, I'm given the dialect with env variables that don't exist. So let's create that. Because we have the env.example, we can copy that. So cp.env.example into a .env. And now let's edit it. So vim.env, run that. All right, so now we can set our environment variables. The port will be the same, 5000. The node env will be production. App URL. This will actually be the URL to our app, the public URL, which is the IP of this machine right now because we haven't attached it to a domain name. So let's go back to DigitalOcean and copy this IP. And here we're going to say http:// paste that. Our origin is actually going to be our client, which is on this same server. So we can point to it with localhost. So we'll say http:// localhost. I'm going to keep it on port 3000 as well. Our JWT secret, I'm just going to put some gibberish. You can use some tool to generate a more diverse string, but I'm okay with it right now because obviously this is just for demo. And the dialect is Postgres. The port is the default Postgres port 5432. The host is on the same machine, so localhost. The username is the default Postgres. The password is what we set up earlier, 1 through 6. And the database is Reddit, is what we created earlier. So do :x to save this. And now if we run that seeder, it should now run successfully. And there we go. Okay, interesting. I created the migrations table, but not the other tables. Okay, have I not set up the rest of the migrations? So let's go into the migrations folder. Okay, there are migrations. Or maybe because, yeah, maybe it's because they're JavaScript migrations and they haven't been copied properly. Okay, I'm just gonna run it with the node env development flag. It doesn't really matter, it's just they're the same. So development here, run that. All right, there we go. It created the rest of the tables. I don't know why actually it didn't work in production. I'll have to investigate that, but it's the same anyway. It's the same process. So we can run the seeder. So npm run seed. Cool. Now we have data in our database. So now we can actually run our server. We can say npm start. Oh, okay. I forgot to build. So first let's say npx tsc so that it actually builds the server before we run it. And to be able to test it, I'm actually going to open, let's go back. I'm going to copy that IP again. I'm going to open another bash terminal and connect here as well. So I'll say ssh root at, and then paste the IP. Yeah, let's go into Reddit. Actually, we don't have to. Let's go back to the other terminal. Okay, for some reason here it's demanding this package to be installed. So I'm just going to install it here just to test stuff out. So I'll say npm install -g and paste that. Let's build our code again, or like transpile it. Or did I not install it? Oh, my bad. I used -g. I should actually use -d to install it here in this project. Okay, now we can actually transpile the code. Come on, third time is the charm. Perfect. Our code is transpiled. Let's do npm start. Cool, it started. Now we can go on the other terminal and we can say curl localhost 5000/API and we should get, yes, we get hello world. And if we do post, we should get, okay, we get an empty array. So that's good, that's successful, but it tells us that the seeding was not successful. Might be because I didn't run it in development. Okay, so I'll say node env equals development and do npm run seed. Okay, actually need to be inside of the project root. So here, run that again. Cool, all right, so now it's seeded. Again, these two little things with migrations, and migrations is more important, but with the seeder is not important because this data is just for testing anyway. So here we can say curl localhost 5000/API/posts. And there we go, we actually get all the posts. So our server is set up properly. So now let's set up our client. So let's cd into client and let's do npm run build. Oh, of course, we need to install dependencies. Let's do npm install first. I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm gonna run npm audit fix to fix these issues, these vulnerabilities. Alright, it says this fix requires to install Next 10.0.5. I think that's okay. What version do we have actually? Let me look at the package.json. Yeah, that's fine. It's actually just gonna update next. So I'm gonna say npm audit fix dash force, so that it actually installs that new version and fix this issue. Alright, so everything was fixed. So now we can say npm run build and build the app. And of course, it's better that, okay, there is a problem. Oh yeah, okay, my bad. Again, the d.env, I didn't set it up because it received some undefined member in the array of domains. So let's actually copy the .env.example into a .env, and then let's modify that. So vim.env, .env, and the server base URL. Let's get that from, let's go to the other terminal, stop the server, and do vim.env. And let's copy this. This is the server. So go back to the other one, and let's go actually at the end of this line, paste this here. Actually, our client is the same. The only difference is in our server, we're going to add /API to get the data from there. And our app domain will be just the IP address on its own. And of course, when you do get the domain and you connect it, you're going to add that domain here. So save, so :X. I just realized that I put that in a .env. Let's put that in a .env.local. So let's say move .env to .env.local. Now we can actually build. So npm run build. Cool, that's the client built. So we can say npm start, and that starts the client. And if we go to the other one, let's quit out of this, and we do curl localhost 3000, we should get a document of sorts. And there we go, we actually get an HTML document, and that's actually our homepage. Lovely. Now let's expose these to the public. Actually, before we do that, let's do something. Let's install npm install -g something called PM2, which is just a process manager, which allows us to run these server and client processes in the background without having to like just block our terminal. Cool, so that's PM2 installed. Make sure, just quit out of the client. And actually, I'm just gonna quit this terminal. We don't need it anymore. Exit again. All right, so go back to terminal. And here, let's say PM2 start. And we can give it a name. So I'll say --name, call this server. And here we're gonna start npm, and we're gonna pass it. So do --start. Cool. So that's our server started in the background. So if we do curl localhost, localhost 5000 /API, we should get hello world, and we do. So now if we cd into the client, we can start the client. So let's get the same command. So PM2 start, and the name of this will be client. So client, and it's actually the exact same script, the npm start. So we can just hit enter, and now we have the client. If we do curl localhost 3000, we should get, cool, we should get like an HTML document, which we do. Now to expose these to the public, we're going to use Nginx, which is basically just a server that sits inside of our server. And let's go and Google install Nginx on Ubuntu. We get this cool article actually by DigitalOcean themselves. So here, and we can, here we're gonna run the sudo apt update to update the dependency. Actually, it doesn't update the dependencies, it does something. It fetches just new versions and something like that. Cool, okay, so that's done. Let's actually install Nginx itself. So copy that command and paste it. And we're gonna need to set up, yeah, actually we can do this as well. We can adjust the firewall and allow Nginx. Okay, here I'm gonna say yes. Cool, so Nginx is installed. We can now do the rest. So here we can adjust the firewall. So copy that, paste that command. Actually, I didn't copy it. Okay, copied. Cool. Okay, this just tells us like what services that we have are available. Yeah, here we can just paste this. So copy this, paste that. All right, rules updated. That's fine. Here we can check that Nginx is running. It is running. So actually we can just double check. So paste this here. Lovely, Nginx is active, running. Okay, so yeah, all right. So it's just telling us how to restart it and a bunch of things. Actually, we don't need any of this. Actually, if we do go to our IP now, we should see, yeah, we do get this Nginx placeholder, but obviously we need it to serve our app. So we can go back, we can cd into /etc/nginx/sites available. And here there are a couple of files, and you can set up like different files to set up server blocks for each domain, but we have just one domain. I'm just going to edit the default file. So do vim default, and this is the configuration for Nginx. If you don't know what Nginx is, it's basically like a reverse proxy server that allows you to do many things. But for our use cases, we need to, when someone requests our IP or our domain, we need to route them to the to our client files. And when they request the API, we need to route them to the server, the localhost 5000. So here where it says root, actually I'm just gonna comment this root because we don't, oops, I forgot to click I to insert. So here, yeah, we can comment this out because we're not going to point them to like some static directory. We're going to use our server. So here, first thing for this location, I'm going to add API. So any requests towards /API, I'm going to actually comment this, and I'm going to say proxy underscore pass. And we're going to pass these requests to http://localhost 5000 /API and semicolon. I'm actually going to do another one here, location for images, so /images. I'll explain why we're doing this. So here I'll say proxy underscore pass http://localhost 5000 /images colon here, close that. And now for our front end, so location just slash, we're gonna point to, we're gonna say proxy underscore pass to http://localhost 3000, which is obviously our client. Close that. And why I'm doing this is that the slash by default is going to go to the to localhost 3000 to get the client, and anything / whatever else is going to go here as well and try to resolve it through the next client. But except for the /API and /images, we do need these to go to our server. So we explicitly specify these before the slash itself. So if it meets these, it stops here. If it's none of these, it's going to go to / and serve the client. So here, let's do :x to save. And now we just need to restart Nginx. So we're going to say systemctl restart Nginx. Run that. And now we should actually get our app here. So refresh. There we go. We get our front end. And let's check the console that there is no errors. Console. Cool. We get only this 401, which is just for authentication. We do get our data. So it's connected to the database. And if I click here, let's try to log in. Okay, the images are not being loaded. So 404 not found. Let's actually check the client. So cd back, cd into client, and go into the public folder. And yeah, there's an images directory here. So cd images, ls. Okay, the bricks images here. Oh, okay. All right, so there's a conflict because we're reaching to our client and doing /images and trying to find the image, but /images always goes to the server, which actually makes sense, yeah. All right, the fix for this, we can actually just copy this image and put it in the server images directory. It doesn't really matter because we're serving those files from this server anyway, so they can be anywhere. So let's do, I'm actually just gonna copy everything that's here, which is just this one image. So cp, actually just there's one image, so I could just say cp bricks.jpg. So we're gonna go back 3 levels, so do // public /images. That should actually, I'm gonna give it an image. I need to give it a name as well, and the same bricks.jpg. All right, run that. And now if we request this, actually not this, bricks.jpg. All right, so we get that image, and if I refresh this, cool, we do get that image. Now we just serve it from the root of the server. So if I log in, John 1 through 6, cool, I'm logged in, and let's actually, upvote stuff. Cool, that's working. Let me just remove this. the infinite loading. Already like loaded. Okay, cool, it's loading. And I'm gonna try to upload a different image. Let's say to, okay, I know John owns Insightful Questions. Let's try to upload an image. Let's go to downloads and we're just gonna select this clown. Cool, so it's uploaded actually, and everything is working exactly like we expected it to. And you can see that it's like it's extremely fast. Obviously, it's way faster than it was in development because everything is built out now. Now, of course, this setup is not perfect because now, of course, what we installed earlier, the dependencies, we should have installed them locally and then pushed the code. And now every time we make a change to our code, we need to come to the server and then like do get pull and then build the code again. So in a real world, I would actually set up a process using GitHub Actions or Travis CI or Circle CI or something to automate the process of deployment every time I make a change. But this is just to show you how to deploy it. And actually, let me know in the comment section if I find a lot of comments about asking for continuous delivery. I'm gonna like create a tutorial and show you how to do that using something like, I don't know, GitHub Actions or whatever is actually most convenient. Alright, that's it for this video. Again, please do make sure to like this video and of course subscribe if you haven't, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.